Hey, it's Angela here once again. I was working on my quilted potholders, which I am now finishing. So I thought I would show you guys what I was doing. So here is kind of the finished edging. So I've cut it all so it's nice and flat to get rid of any excess fabric or Insole Bright, which is what I'm using on the inside there. That way when you go to put the bias tape on, it sits nice and close so you don't get any sagging or weird things going on. So something interesting that I learned was that the bias tape has an edge that is one side's longer than the other. And I didn't know this, so I sewed a bunch of these and had all kinds of problems and had no idea why. So if you look very carefully, this back edge actually sits up higher than the front. This is actually the bottom. So you're supposed to put this on the bottom. So when you're sewing it, make sure that you catch the stitch. It catches the bottom. And I wasn't doing that, so I wasn't catching it, and stitches were getting all crazy. And so I had to like unstitch or rip it out with my seam ripper and then restitch. It was just a nightmare. So now that I know that, lots less problems in the sewing department. So what you're going to do, so if you want to do this, is you take your edge, right? And you put your extended edge on the bottom and you pinch it. And one way to do this to make sure it's correct is you have the seam in the middle or the fold in the middle, and you can tap it and make sure that your edge is right in the middle there. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to clip these with quilting clips. I don't use pins anymore because that was part of the problem too, is I was using pins along here. And what happens is when you put a pin in and then you go to anchor it, like you put it in and then you go to, it grabs your bias tape and crinkles it and misaligns it, so it doesn't really work as good. But these quilt clips are awesome. So they also have a flat edge and a curved edge. So you use a flat edge along the bottom side because that's the side that's going to slide across the sewing machine, so it keeps it from getting caught because the round edge isn't going to do that. So they're really nice. I like these. I got these ones at a quilt show. You can buy them at most fabric stores or quilting stores or on Amazon because everything is on Amazon and it's cheap. I did buy these though, however, in the store because it was about the same price as Amazon. So that just made it seem like it was worth it to me. So I got a box of 50 for about 8 or 10 bucks, I think. So totally worth it. And as you clip, again, you can just run your finger to make sure that the seam is in the middle of the edge. So, or not the seam, the fold. I keep saying seam, I mean fold. The fold of the bias tape is right there. And then you keep clipping. And then when you get to the edge to get the nice fine corner, where you get like the nice corners that I had, you want to push it against the edge on both sides. And then you kind of just bring it together and pinch. And then fold it in one direction, doesn't matter which direction. And see, I've got a wrinkle here, so you can kind of work that out. And if you see, you get a nice edge there. And then you just clip it. You can iron them if you want. It's tricky because then you have to like hold it down and put the iron really close to your fingers. So I just clip it because this also helps to kind of press it while you're clipping. It kind of holds it in place and does kind of the job of the iron. And then you just keep going. So I'll show you. I've got this other one finished here. So I've basically clipped this one all the way around so you can see it's clipped. And then I've got my extended end here. This is where I'm going to make the loop to like sew to fold the loop. So you can hang it if you wanted to hang it. If you don't do it right, you get really terrible edges on your loops. So when I first started doing this, again, trial by fire because I wasn't sure what I was doing and I was trying to figure it out. I sewed the loops on after the fact and they came out terrible. So if you can see here, it's just a lot of stitching. It's not actually on the corner. It's just awful. And that was one of my better ones. This one is really terrible. So if you look, let's see, where's the end here? Here it is. So I sewed the ribbon on after the fact. And if you look closely, you can see there's just a lot of stitching and a lot of folds, and it's garbage. It's really bad. And then the other side, same thing. Like it's just like this is folded all wonky. So these will probably be, my sale pot holders because they were prototypes. So these will be cheaper because they're not as beautiful as my nicely done ones. So, but now that I've learned how to do it, it's much better. And then when you get to do the loop part for real, it should look like this. So then you get a nice clean edge. So you basically stitch all the way up, which helps hold this closed, and then you do a nice fold. And you have to use the iron for this to get it to fold nicely, because the bias tape, when you fold it over, has a tendency to like try to pop out of itself, like the little edge will kind of go wonky. So, but this is much nicer, and I'll turn it over so you can see the other side too. It's just like a nice clean stitch and fold, so much better. So that's it. Basically, those are how I'm doing my edges, and then I'm going to stitch these together, and I'll update you guys again later when I have some other cool stuff to show you.